Okay, Rob, we'll get this started off with the third step prayer, sir.
Okay, on page 63 of your big book, I'm Rob K., recovered alcoholic. Great to see everybody today. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. May I do thy will always.
Excellent, Rob. Rob, okay, we are on page 84. We're near the bottom, but we're going to go back up to this thought brings us to step 10.
Perfect. Page 84, everybody. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for a lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code.
And what a process. So we've got a couple of things here that I think are worth noting here. It's this is not an overnight matter. It should continue for a lifetime. We will continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. And those are just the well, I want to say the tip of the iceberg, but it is just each one has its own set of things that go with it. So those type of things that, you know, we start to be selfish, we start considering ourselves over others. We are not being completely honest with other people or ourselves or our higher power. And then those build up into resentments that we get when we have an interaction with somebody that's less than positive. And that is also a matter of fear. So tell you what, Rob, I've got one thing I got to go do real quick. I apologize. I'll be right back.
Yeah, not a problem. You go do what you need to do.
I'll be right back.
I got a couple of things I'd like to talk about on step 10. You know, step 10 is a safety net. It's to help us that when we realize that we did something wrong, that we can fix it right away. So that we don't go through the day or the week, the month, whatever, and things start preying on. You know, my buddy Bill from New Jersey always talked about this analogy, which made sense to me. I go to a meeting, and what happens is that you know, I get out of my chair. They're just going to start the meeting, but I want to get a coffee before the meeting starts, so I rush over to the coffee pot. As I rush over, I step on somebody's toes. And what happens? So I keep going to the coffee pot to get my coffee, and then I sit down and I start rolling the thing in my head. I start thinking about it. That guy put his foot out on purpose. He tried to trip me. You know, it wasn't my fault. You know, this guy tried to trip me. Wow. In reality, it was my selfishness in trying to get over to the coffee pot that I stepped on that guy's toes. A normal person would have apologized and say, hey, let me get you a coffee, okay, in order to make up for it. But me, with my thinking, I'm thinking that guy, I've changed it all around. Instead of me being at fault, this guy's trying to trip me, you know? So now today, when I make a mistake, I try to recognize it and deal with it right away so it doesn't build up, so I don't get a resentment. So these things don't cry. Now, as it says right here, this is not an overnight matter. This is going to take time, okay? So I'm always trying to grow in this program, always. I am never at a point where I'm perfect or that, you know, I'm at the right level and that's where I can stay. No, I'm constantly trying to grow in understanding and get my relationship with God. You know, it's a beautiful thing. So, Leo, great to have you back. Hopefully I covered for you long enough.
Oh, you did great. No worries at all. That's perfect. I apologize for the speed bump there. But I think that that's an important point. You know, the things that Rob was just talking about. We stop, we ask our higher power that wants to remove any of those ill feelings and or bad habits, and we discuss them immediately with somebody. And then in this case, we're probably talking about our sponsor, or we may be going to talk about them specifically or immediately with the person that we may have just wronged. So it is a very quick kind of turnaround kind of thing. This isn't something that you sit on for a long time. It's not like our step 4. It's not like our step 8. This is really like immediately doing an amend. And then we turn and this is interesting. We turn around, and as part of our kind of I'll call it payback, is that we work with another person, and working with another person, it automatically gets us in a better frame of mind. It focuses our energy and efforts on somebody else, which is exactly what we want to do. And the bottom line is then we find ourselves not feeling that fear. You know, it kind of melts away. Those resentments are just kind of drift off, et cetera, et cetera. So this is an active, you know, step 10 is kind of it's a quick action kind of thing. It's, you make a mistake, you own up to it, you talk to somebody, you make amends in whatever manner or fashion that you need to, and then you turn around and you take your energy and you focus on somebody else for something. What a great action step, and or maintenance, I think, is really what you are going to call it. Is this maintenance step that we're doing, Rob?
Yeah, and remember, step 10 and 11, we're trying to take self out of the picture. So, because before we were selfish and self-centered, so now we're trying to take self out of the picture. And what would God have me do in this situation? What would my higher power want me to do? So we're trying to get self. Okay, we don't want to dwell in self-pity. Okay, self out. What would God have me do in this situation? So we're at the bottom of page 84, everybody. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as if from a hot flame. We have reacted sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We're not fighting it, nor are we avoiding temptation. Neither we feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We're neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual connection.
So, perfect paragraph to define one great place where I think I hear a lot of people will ask, well, how do I know I've truly recovered? Where do I find myself at a point where I can say I'm recovered from alcoholism? And not saying that you're not an alcoholic. We're saying that you are and you will be forever an alcoholic. But at this point, you have been relieved of the temptation of alcohol. And bottom line is that this is the point in time where you can actually take stock, meditate, look around, see where you are, and say, I'm recovered. I'm recovered. So the problem has been removed. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. We're not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. Feel as though we've been placed into a position of neutrality and we're safe. So this is at the point in time when you're working the steps that you should be at that point that you can actually say, I'm now recovered. What an important paragraph that we just read. It's probably the message of today is when you ask, or somebody else asks, well, how do I know that I'm truly recovered? If you've done all of the steps with the rigorous honesty and the rigorous work that's required, you've gotten to the point that you're at your step 10 and you are working. At this point, we're going to talk a little bit about step 11 and 12, but you're already doing those. When you turn to and actually focus on somebody else and help them, you're doing a step 12. And at night, you'll be doing your reflection on the day. In the morning, your meditation as to what you're going to do next. This is it. This is where you say you've recovered. Rob?
Yeah, and I put in all the there's 8 different things there. I put that in the chat so that everybody can take a look at it, so you don't have to, and then you can mark it in your book. But the most important thing there is that is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. That's a warning, okay? That this thing can wear off if we do not continue on with not only the steps, but continuing our spiritual connection. I always do. This is me. This is my higher power. This is my connection. Okay? If I stop praying, if I stop doing God's work and I start bringing self back into the picture, the connection becomes further and further apart. The longer I do it, the further apart it gets. Okay? The malady will return. And before I know it, I'll be taking that drink. Now, how long does that take for that connection to be broken and that the malady will return? That I can't answer. For everybody, it might be a little bit different, whatever. But I have to keep in fit spiritual condition. Tony from the Keystone Group, he's been doing the Big Book study for 33 years. People ask him, why do you keep doing it? He goes, because I want to stay sober. He's doing what works to keep him in fit spiritual condition. Okay, we sponsor people. Why? Because it reinforces in us what we need to do in order to stay sober. If we forget that, okay, and we start bringing self back into the picture, our connection is lost. We start becoming God again. We're thinking we're God, and we will be back to drinking before we know it. And that's what happens to an awful lot of people. A lot of people come into the fellowship and, after a couple of months, they haven't had a drink. They think they've got this thing. They think they've got it figured out. I'm not really an alcoholic. Their brain starts playing tricks on them. I'm making too hard of a simple thing. I'm not really an alcoholic. I haven't had a drink in a couple of months. The big lie, the brain. Or people that have had, 20, 25 years, they go back out. Why? Because they stopped doing what they needed to do in order to stay sober. This is a tricky thing. Remember, we're never cured. Okay? We have recovered, yes, but we will always have the allergy. So please keep that in mind. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day where we must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. How best can I serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of will.
Yes. And bottom line is we've kind of already talked about this, so we won't go too far into this, but we are headed for trouble if we do rest on our laurels. Okay. So just as a reinforcement here is that we now are in a maintenance mode, and that maintenance mode requires some action. And that action is that relationship with your higher power that you maintain on a daily basis. And anytime and every time you have an opportunity to work with another person, you focus on that and putting those things together, the relationship that you have and working with others is really a great recipe for maintaining that spiritual well-being and therefore maintaining your recovery from alcohol. Rob?
Yeah. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. It's a whole new way of looking at life. Before it was, I want this and I want this now. God, I want this. Now it's a question of, well, I didn't get it. Well, thy will, not my will, be done. You know, that's the way it is. It's not acceptance is the answer, but the idea is that, you know what? This is what God wants for me at this moment. Will it change? Yeah, maybe. It's up to God. Thy will, not my will, be done. Much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from Him who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully followed His directions, we have begun to sense the flow of His Spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further, and that means more action.
Does mean more action, and we're getting ready to go into step 11 and 12. We'll see that, but more importantly here, we've carefully followed his directions, and these are not suggestions. Okay, we want to be aggressive. All right, so it's an important thing here is that not suggestions, but they are something to follow and do it aggressively. Rob?
Yeah, and those directions are the 12 steps. You know, if we have carefully followed, you know, before there were always suggestions. This is what we suggest. Now they're putting in here, they are directions. It's like a roadmap. If you want what the first 100 people got, travel the same road they traveled. This is the roadmap, the 12 steps that they have given us. And, you know, if we do exactly what they did, we should get the same results. Now, if we don't get the same results, we have missed something along the way. So then we go back to try to find out where we made a detour. You know, but the whole idea is that now they're directions. You know, Bill always, always said that alcoholics don't like to be told what to do. So he never told them. But now we see that they are directions. Different way. So let's get into my favorite, well, one of my favorite steps anyway, step 11. Step 11 suggests prayer and meditation. We shouldn't be shy on this matter of prayer. Better men than we are using it constantly. It works if we have the proper attitude and work at it. It would be easy to be vague about this matter, yet we believe we can make some definite and valuable suggestions.
Yeah, we're getting into step 11 and spend a little bit of time there. This is a couple of things that we'll learn from this step 11 or this step itself. It's definitely a template for how to live your life going forward. And it is one of the steps that we talk about that's done on a daily basis. So this is something that you'll maintain and do on a daily basis. And it will increase over time your knowledge and power of your life as well as of your recovery. Rob?
It says here, it works if, here it comes again, if we have the proper attitude and work at it. Okay, growth again. You know, they talk about, we have to work at it. You know, a lot of people say, well, prayer never works. Well, it depends what you're praying for too. You know, if we're praying for always stuff for us, we know it doesn't work. The foxhole prayers, God, get me out of this situation and I'll turn my life around. Well, we know that that doesn't work. Okay? Because what happens is you get out of the foxhole and the person thinks, well, you know, it wasn't God, you know, it just, you know, I was so strong and so brave and it's me. Now we're getting into, prayer works. The more we do it, the more we see that it works in our life. And this is where we're coming. Step 11 is prayer and meditation every day. You know, have you forgot to pray this morning? Well, if you do, now is a perfect time to pray. Okay? So, you know what? It's a growth. And it all comes down to growth. You know, we do forget. We are human. We don't always do what we're supposed to do. Okay? So that doesn't mean that we can't stop right for a moment, pray, get centered again, do our meditation, etc. Page 86, everybody. When we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? Do we owe an apology? Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? Were we kind and loving toward all? What could we have done better? Were we thinking of ourselves most of the time? Or were we thinking of what we could do for others, of what we could pack into the stream of life? But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. After making our review, we ask God's forgiveness and inquire what corrective measures should be taken.
Absolutely. I'm just looking at some of the notes here. We don't have to carry it anymore, and that's kind of the idea here. When we talk about drifting into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, you're kind of starting to beat yourself up over something, and that's the opposite of what you want to do. Sure, you want to note it. Sure, you want to reflect on it and say, this is what I could have done better. But you quickly decide what it is that you could do better, and you commit to doing that, and you let it go. Okay, so you don't carry it over and over, because what that will do is then build up resentments. There's a couple of ways of looking at this. Do we owe an apology for something that we did? Have we kept something to ourselves which we should have discussed with another person? Or on the other side of it, if we are very healthy in our spiritual relationship with our higher power, and we're actively working it and that type of thing, perhaps you had a great day. Okay, it is just as possible to have where you were gone through the day and things just worked out. It's not going to be every day, but on those days that things work out, what a great feeling to kind of come to a point at night when you meditate over it and kind of look around and you smile, and that confidence and that well-being just swells up in you, and you find that you are truly recovered. It is that reinforcement that you're looking for. If it isn't, it's okay. We make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes. You're going to step on something and it's not going to go the way you want it to. Just note it, decide what it is that you could have done better, pray on it, and then plan for it, but move on. All right. And just improve yourself. And looking around at what you can do better otherwise. Perhaps something happened in the day and you just weren't quite sure, and it created some fear. You weren't sure if you were going to say the right thing or not. You held back. Now you've had some time to really think about it and decide what best to do next. Rob?
Yeah, I've got a few notes on this too. Many. But the whole idea is, where did self come in instead of God's will? Okay. Where did self take over instead of letting it? Was that God-based or self-based? You know, Tony from the Keystone Group always talks about, do you want to be in the car wreck or do you want to miss the car wreck? And what that basically means is that when we take self back, okay, we do things that we shouldn't really do. Okay, which means that I'm gonna, be in a car wreck. If I let God take me to do these things, I'll stay out of the car wreck. And and that's what it's all about, is, do I want to be in the car wreck or do I want to miss it? So, and I want to be out of the car wreck. Why? Because if I get into a car wreck, I got to wait for the police to show up. I got to deal with my insurance company. I got to go and take the car into the auto collision place, which means I'm going to be without a car, which means I get a rental vehicle, which is always nice to get a rental vehicle, but it's the pain, So what I'm trying to get at is that all these other factors come into play that we aren't expecting, and they take over our time. You know what? We can use our time better. So I want to be God-based. So what would God have me do in this situation is basically what I'm coming to. We want to take self out of the picture, and what would God have me do? So I pray and meditate. I hope that makes sense. If not, ask me after the meeting and I'll try to explain it better. Okay. Now let's talk about on awakening. On awakening, let us think about the 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. Before we begin, we ask God to direct our thinking especially asking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonesty, or self-seeking motives. Under these conditions, we can employ our mental faculties with assurance, for after all, God gave us brains to use. Our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives.
Now, here's a point where you kind of plan out the rest of it says for 24 hours. So we're not just talking about the next 8 or 9 hours of your day. We're talking about the entire time going into the evening and night, even when you're going to be sleeping, et cetera, et cetera. So it is for the next 24 hours. It is all encompassing, and consider your plans for the day, and ask God for to direct our thinking, especially asking to be divorced from self-pity, dishonesty, and self-seeking motives. All right. This is really that point in time when you're asking what it is that you need to do. Take what you reflected on the night before, and perhaps today's the day that you're going to make an amend. All right. So this is also as a caveat. This is where you actually do. You're at this point now where you're going to do your step 9. All right. So when you've planned for, you've done your step 8, you've planned for your step 9, you've got a list of amends you want to make, and you've wondered when it is that you start doing your step 9. It's now. It is at your step 11 where you actually start the day thinking, today is the day that I'm going to make an amend to Rob. I'm going to reach out to him. I'm going to ask what it is I can do to make amends for X, and listen. I'm going to open up and hear what Rob has to say. Perhaps he brings up something that I wasn't thinking of. And again, we go through that process of our step 9, and then we begin to make amends. That is what you're planning for when you talk about meditating on what you are going to do for the day going forward. And perhaps you've got 2 or 3 of these lined up. Maybe it's on a weekend and you've got all day, and you've just decided that this is the day you're going to get, ahead of your plan and make some step 9 amends. But nonetheless, bottom line is that you want to make sure you're in touch with your higher power. Ask what best way to kind of go about things. If you need to, reach out to your sponsor, review with them what it is you're planning on doing with making an amend, and then follow some of the advice and direction that you get from that. Our thoughts will be placed on a much higher plane when our thinking is cleared of wrong motives. All right. Always think about what is the best way to go about something. What is the good way of going about something, not the bad. And if you have things that are welling up in you and you feel these resentments starting to creep in, you then actually sit down, you get in touch with your higher power, you pray, and you get past that resentment. You set it aside, and you move to a more positive posture in planning for your day. Rob?
Yeah, well said, Leo. Now, we've talked about what we do at night. We've talked about what we do when we wake up in the morning. Now, remember, if you forget to do these things, do it now. Okay? We're not perfect. We are going to forget certain things. So, do it now. Okay? Never forget. Now, what are we going to do during the day? Well, I guess they're going to tell us, right, Leo?
Yes, they are.
In thinking about our day, we may face indecision. We may not be able to determine which course to take. Hence, we ask God for inspiration, an intuitive thought, or a decision. We relax and take it easy. We don't struggle. We're often surprised how the right answers come after we have tried this for a while. What used to be the hunch or the occasional inspiration gradually becomes a working part of the mind. Being still inexperienced and having just made conscious contact with God, it is not probable that we're going to be inspired at all times. We might pay for this presumption in all sorts of absurd actions and ideas. Nevertheless, we find that our thinking will, as time passes, be more and more on the plane of inspiration. We come to rely on it.
Yes. So there's some practicing that needs to occur here. We kind of work into it just from It might feel a little clumsy, a little clunky to begin with. We may not have our process down, which is what we're looking for. That becomes comforting. It becomes habit. We you at this point have done a lot of house cleaning, so your side of the street is clean and clear, and if it's not, then that's part of what you're working on. You're looking for inspiration and intuitive thought or decision, and that's where you get into this relationship with your higher power, and you're really meditating and having a close relationship with your higher power. Sure, there's going to be, I don't know if I should do this or this. Not sure which course of action to take. Then that's when you pray on it. You reach out to your sponsor or somebody that's a trusted agent that you can rely on to give you objective opinion and advice, and you think about it. You plan for it, and then you go out and execute. Guess what? Maybe the course of action we thought we were going to take ends up being the wrong one. That's okay. That's just part of where you go into your step 10 to kind of, if you've made a mistake, you can correct it immediately. If it's something that you made a mistake and you didn't have a chance to correct it immediately that night, you're going to look on it and reflect on what you did that day, how you could do things better. And then when you get up in the morning and you meditate, you take that and you go, okay, this is the day I'm going to go back and try something a little bit different here, if it allows for it. And this is really the process we're going through, is just this really good step, and that's step 11. What a way to look at your day, look at your life, live your life, and interact with others is through this very positive process. Rob?
Yeah, so I love analogies, so I'll give you another one. We're trying to build a relationship with our higher power. Now, if you have a significant other partner in your life, and you go to bed at night and you say good night, you get up in the morning, you say good morning, and then you don't talk for the rest of the day, and then you go to bed at night, you say good night, you get up in the next morning and you say good morning. Is that a relationship? No, it's not. Relationship is constant communication. Okay, it doesn't have to be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but it's a question of talking to each other, thanking your higher power. Thank you for helping me out today. Thank you for letting me be of service to other people. God, thank you for just being there for me, so that when I have a problem, I know where I can go. God is there 24/7. Some people talk about, well, your higher power can be a doorknob. No, it can't. You can't go to you could go to a doorknob 24/7 and talk to it. But you know what? It doesn't make sense in the light of day, in my mind. It's got to be a something that can help you, So it sounds funny and everything like that, but yeah, you do hear that in the rooms all the time. Make a doorknob your higher power, But oh well. Growth. We're trying to build a relationship, and that's what it's all about with our higher power. So constant communication. God, thank you for getting me out of this situation. God, thank you for being there. Thank you for keeping me out of a car accident today. Thank you for looking after my family. God, thanks for looking after me. Thank you for helping me, be of service to other people so that I can be there. Thank you. We usually conclude the period of meditation with a prayer that we be shown all through the day what our next step is to be, that we be given whatever we need to take care of such problem. We ask especially for freedom from self-will, and are careful to make no request for ourselves only. We may ask for ourselves, however, if others will be helped. We are careful never to pray for our own selfish ends. Many of us have wasted a lot of time doing that and it doesn't work. You can easily see why.
So conclude the period of meditation with a prayer. Again, that's going to take some practice. It's okay. That's part of the learning and growing process. We'll be given whatever we need to take care of such problems, and that should be in the form of answers that come through prayer and through reaching out to your sponsor and or, like I said, another trusted agent. This is where you really start to reinforce the fact that you're not talking about yourself. You're not praying for yourself. You're praying for others. You're praying. The only time you kind of pray for yourself is to give you the energy, the way forward in an effort to be of service to others. If you really do this, kind of sit back and think about this for a second. If you really do this on a daily basis, what a change that happens, and what a different type of person that you become in such a positive way. And if you're thinking in terms of how it is that you can be of service to others, how you can help other people, and you live your life in regards to that, where you are hitting a 60, 70, 80% success rate with regard to that actual effort, what a difference that your life and how it becomes more positive and just rewarding. Just think about, if you were to do this on a daily basis, and I'm not saying that you're not, I'm saying that if you are, what a different kind of person you've become, and the impact that you're having on other people's lives, and the satisfaction and the overall kind of warm, positive feeling that you get from doing those things, and really start to find that life becomes that much more satisfying and that much more rewarding. I can only tell you, just wow, on those days that things just work out the way you had planned for them to, hoped for them to like I said, 60 to an 80%, kind of thing. It is just, what a wonderful feeling at night when you sit back and kind of look back and go, wow, that just really worked. And now I've got the confidence to do it again and again and again. Rob?
Well, you know what they say, Leo? We plan and God laughs.
Sure. Oh, sure.
Here Bill is showing us what we should be, how to pray. Okay, a prayer that we be shown all through the day what our next step is to be, that we be given whatever we need to take care of such problems. Okay, remember, we were told earlier in the book, it will answer all my problems. We asked especially for freedom from self-will. We want to take self out of the equation and are careful to make no requests for ourselves. But we may ask for ourselves, however, if it will help others. Okay, now, a joke that I hear all the time is that I can't pray to win the lottery, but you can pray for me to win the lottery, and that's okay. So just a little bit of levity, very little. If circumstances warrant, we ask our wives or friends to join us in morning meditation. If we belong to a religious denomination which requires a definite morning devotion, we attend to that also. If not members of religious bodies, we sometimes select and memorize a few set prayers which emphasize the principles we have been discussing. There are many helpful books also. Suggestions about these may be obtained from one's priest, minister, or rabbi. Be quick to see where religious people are right. Make use of what they offer.
Right. And one of the things that I want to make a point here, and that is, if you do a morning devotion and it is for a religious body, such as a religious entity, you would do that also. So that's in addition to your meditation. Okay. It is in addition to you planning for your day, et cetera, et cetera. So that what I'm trying to say is that morning devotion that you have, if you have it for a religious entity, is separate. You can combine the two, meaning that they can be at the same time, but you want to make sure that there is a separate and distinct effort made towards plans for the day with regard to what it is you're going to do. And maybe it isn't a specific action that you're going to do, other than the fact that you're going to think about other people, you're going to try to serve other people, and you're going to be in the best place and posture possible in order to do that. Sometimes you're going to select and memorize a few set prayers which emphasize principles we have been discussing. Okay. There are a couple of prayers that are already in the book that help you kind of get yourself focused on what you need to do for being in a good place and a positive place and service to others. And you're going to study that. This is a point where you want to do a little bit of studying and going forward. I guess the point that I really want to emphasize here is that this doesn't take the place of your morning devotion. It actually is a combination of the two. They are distinct and different. They can be done together, but make sure that you tend to your religious entity and that requirement, as well as this requirement for meditation on how to conduct yourself throughout the day for the next 24 hours. Right?
Yeah, and the point that Bill was trying to make here is make use of what they offer. Do not close your mind to religion. Find out what they can bring to you. Because a lot of our people do find religion, organized religion, useful and helpful to them. Okay, Leo, the next part is my favorite part.
Nice, good.
You know, this makes so much sense to me. As we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. We constantly remind ourselves that we are no longer running the show, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, "Thy will be done." We are then in much less danger of excitement, fear, anger, worry, self-pity, or foolish decisions. We become much more efficient. We do not tire so easily, or we are not burning up energy foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. It works. It really does. We alcoholics are undisciplined, so we let God discipline us in the simple way we have just outlined. But this is not all. There is action and more action. Faith without works is dead. The next chapter is entirely devoted to step 12.
Yeah, so let's look back as we kind of just dissect this paragraph. And Rob, I agree with you. It is one of the best parts of the 12 steps, the process, our recovery, and a way of life going forward. As we go through the day, we pause, underline pause, highlight pause. That's the point in time when you're going to think, what is the next right thing for me to do? What is the best thing for me to do here? How can I serve this person in the best possible way? Instead of being agitated or doubtful, and ask for the right thought or action. All right. There it is. Pause, take a breath, let go of the negative feelings, let the positive creep in, and then react in the manner in which that you want to do the right thing. We constantly remind ourselves that we are no longer running the show. Remember back a few chapters ago, we talked about the actor that wanted to run the show, be the director, be the stagehand, be all of the different things, and try to control and corral everybody and everything within the play. And it just doesn't work. It ends up backfiring. And this is just really another reinforcement that we are not running the show. Humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, "Thy will be done." All right. So you're asking for guidance. You're asking for the power that you need in order to be of service to other people. And then we have much less danger of excitement, although I would say that positive excitement is never a bad thing. Fear, anger, worry, pity, or foolish decisions. So stop before you think in terms of doing something foolish. Stop and think, well, how better could I be doing this? Right? We become much more efficient. All right. You also become much more useful. You become useful to other people, and they start to approach you. They start to get closer to you. And that's kind of the goal here for an alcoholic that has done so much damage for so long, pushed so many people away. And here it is, your new posture, your new approach, just this whole new person that you are. People are going to be drawn to you, and it's going to have that positive, good feeling that's going to come with it. And we're not burning our energy foolishly as we did when we were trying to arrange life to suit ourselves. The selfishness is going to melt away, and you're going to find that you're more relaxed, you're more at ease, and things are going to just start to work for you. And it's the next thing is it really does work. You have to work at it. It's going to take some time. You're going to have to do some practicing, and you're not going to get it all right ever. Okay. So like I said, you're shooting for that 60 to 80% success rate in your day. And you're looking for that kind of process that every day is the next good day in order to do something great for somebody. You let your higher power help walk right beside you, carry you, and or nudge you in the right direction. And yes, we've got more action to do. This is actually the last of the working steps as far as that goes, but we're going to get into step 12, which is more of the action steps. Bill S. Has said something here, and I want to just repeat it real quick before we move on, and that is to live your life like it's a prayer, and that's kind of what you're looking for. Praying in the morning, and this is just a kind of a caveat here. When you pray in the morning and give thanks at night, it's just a check-in as far as that goes. It's not your step 11. Your step 11 really does have a method. It has a process, and it does define and gives you the steps that you need to do with regard to what did you do the day prior, how can you do it better, and then the next thing is what am I going to do to the throughout the day, and how do I do it better is really what you're looking for. I know we're a little ahead of ourselves, but I think this is going to be a good place to kind of stop for just today. So I apologize that we're going to probably end a little bit early, but I'm going to turn it over to Bill and let him help us kind of review what we've just been talking about. Bill?
Yeah, hi, this is Bill, alcoholic from New Jersey. Thanks a lot, guys. Good presentation today. We started on page 84 on step 10. Step 10, if you notice, in the first paragraph, it uses the word continue 4 times. In other words, we're supposed to continue doing this. Just because we got through all of the steps up to step 10, we don't stop doing this. We're supposed to continue this. And we're supposed to make it as a way of our lifestyle. It says it should continue for our lifetime. In other words, if you just do the first 9 steps and then never do anything again, it's going to wear off. You have to continue this. And step 10 is how we continue it. Step 10 is like a mini 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Basically, it says continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. That's like a mini step 4. And when these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. At once. We don't wait around. We don't wait around for a month and then sit down and do another inventory. We get rid of this stuff at once. We ask God right away to take it away. And it just says we discuss it with someone immediately. In other words, we talk to our sponsor, or we talk to the other person who we did it to. We talk to them immediately. We don't let this stuff fester. We want to get rid of it. 1, 2, 3. And then it says we make amends quickly. They're using words here, at once, immediately, quickly. In other words, once we get into this process and we've gone through it and we've learned how to do it, we're supposed to incorporate it into our lives and do it all the time, right away. Get rid of this stuff. If I get rid of something that I did wrong right away, it's a lot easier than if I let it build up and fester over time and time and time. Because now, if I try to fix something that I did wrong 2 days later, it snowballs and the other person doesn't even want to talk to me anymore or whatever. I got to fix it as soon as I do it. Again, if you step on somebody's toes, you apologize right away and do whatever you can to fix it. You don't sit around for a week and then try to go back and fix it, because by then it might be unfixable. So basically, that's what step 10 is. It's a way of getting us out of trouble. Like Rob said, it's a safety net. We don't have to wait and go all the way back and do step 4 again. We can catch everything right here in step 10. And then it's got the step 10 promises on the bottom of page 84 and the top of page 85. And basically, that's a description of being recovered. By this point, we should be recovered. When we got to step 10, we should have been recovered. If we're not recovered, we missed something in the first portion of all of the steps, and we may have to go back and look at it. And and he's telling us it's easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. He's telling us we're not supposed to do that. Rest on your laurels means you're relying on past accomplishments. When we do that, we stop doing this work and we rely on what we did in the past. It told us on page 66, the insanity of alcohol returns and we drink. That's what's going to happen to us if we rest on our laurels. The insanity of alcoholism comes back again. And then it says we are not cured of alcoholism. What we have is a daily reprieve. In other words, this isn't the end of it. We're not cured. We have a daily reprieve contingent upon the maintenance of our spiritual condition. And how do we maintain our spiritual condition? Through work and self-sacrifice for others. We have to keep doing this stuff over and over and over again. That way we maintain our spiritual condition. And then it's got a prayer in here. It says, and it's in quotation marks, how can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. And that's basically a reference to step 11. Step 11 says we pray for the knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. That's basically what he's telling us here. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. He's referencing here step 11. So in step 10, we're supposed to also use step 11. That's basically what he's telling us here. And then at the end of that paragraph, it says, it is the proper use of the will. That's a reference to step 3. We turned our will and our life over to the care of God. God gave us our will back, and now we're supposed to use it the right way. And if you look right at the last paragraph in step 10, it says if we have carefully followed directions. In other words, Bill's not talking about suggestions anymore. He's getting a little more aggressive. He's telling us these are directions that we're supposed to follow. If we don't follow them, things are going to go wrong. Then we move into step 10. Into step 11. And step 11 tells us basically the same thing that step 10 did. It says when we retire at night, we constructively review our day. It's the same thing we did in step 10. But it's asking us a question. What are we resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid? That's what it told us that we were supposed to watch for in step 10. And now in step 11, it's asking us if those things cropped up, if they came up. And the only way we're going to know if they came up is if we did step 10, because if we didn't do step 10, when we retire at night, we're going to forget half of the stuff. Most people, by the time nighttime comes, they can't even remember what they ate for lunch that day. So how are you going to remember whether you were selfish or dishonest or resentful or afraid? That's why we have to watch for that stuff when it crops up. And then at night, we review it and see if we did it right. That's basically what they're telling us here. It's got a whole bunch of questions in here. Have we kept something to ourselves which should be discussed with another person at once? That's another. He's asking us, did you do step 5? When something went wrong, did you talk to somebody about it? Were we loving and kind toward all? He's asking us again, did we do the right thing all day long? What could we have done better? He's constantly asking us questions here, right here in this paragraph on page 86. Then he's got a warning in here. But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection, for that would diminish our usefulness to others. In other words, he's giving us a warning. We can't drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection. If we do that, we're going to start going backwards. Then after making our review, we ask God's forgiveness. That's basically 6 and 7. And then we inquire about what corrective measures should be taken. That's 8 and 9. What Bill's telling us in step 10 and step 11, we're supposed to live in the steps all day long. We're supposed to incorporate them into our lives. And he tells us on awakening, where we're supposed to think about the 24 hours ahead. That means we're supposed to think about our day and what we're going to do and how we can make things right and do the right thing all day long. You'll hear people say no thinking for a year. That's not what this book says. This book says as soon as we wake up, we're supposed to think. And then in that paragraph, it also says, God gave us brains to use. That means we're supposed to use them. We're not supposed to just walk around like a zombie all day. We're supposed to be able to pick out what's the right thing to do, and then we're supposed to do it. And then he tells us, in thinking about our day, we face indecision. That means when we can't make up our mind, we ask God for inspiration. Anytime it says we ask God, that means we're praying. We ask God what we're supposed to do. And we pray and meditate and see if we can get the right answer. And he tells us this is going to come after a while. And as time passes, we'll be more on the plane of inspiration. In other words, time takes time. It doesn't happen the first time, but it's going to happen little by little. And sooner or later, we're going to get better at this, and it's going to work for us. Then he gives us instructions here on how to pray. He's telling us we're not supposed to pray for ourselves. We can pray for ourselves if it will help someone else. We're supposed to pray for other people and how to help them, and what we can do is the right thing. And prayer doesn't just happen when you get down on your knees and you put your hands together. There's all different ways that you can pray. When you wish good for others, that's a prayer. When you hug a friend, that's a prayer. When you cook to feed your family, that's like a prayer also. When you send someone off and you say drive safe or be safe, that's another form of prayer. When you help someone in need, when you forgive someone from your heart, when you do what you're supposed to do, all of that stuff is a form of prayer. Prayer doesn't just happen when you kneel down and put your hands together. The best prayer is lived, not said. It's how you live your life. It's not just what you say. Anybody can go to church for an hour and say all kinds of prayers and make believe they're all kinds of holy, and that stuff doesn't really do anything. You have to live it in your life in order for it to take hold, or for it to help you get better. And again, he's telling us how to pray. Most of us didn't know how to pray when we got here. We had those foxhole prayers, God, get me out of this, and I'll never do it again, that kind of thing. That's the only prayer most of us knew. The easiest way to pray, when you wake up in the morning, say please. When you go to bed at night, say thank you. And if you have trouble during the day, ask him for help. That's all. It's really not a hard thing. And then it tells us when we go through the day, we pause when agitated. That's that pause thing. A lot of people will tell you you're supposed to replay the tapes. I don't have a rewind button, but I have a pause button. And that's what I'm supposed to hit. I'm supposed to hit that pause button because that's what's going to help me get better. I'm supposed to pause and ask him for help. And you just can't pray. When you're doing this process, if you just pray, it's not going to work. You have to take the spiritual exercises that are in the steps. Just praying for something to happen is not going to make it happen all the time. You have to do your part. If I want the lights to come on in my home, I have to get up and walk over to the light switch and hit the light switch on before the power kicks in. I can't just sit on my butt and pray for the lights to come on. They're not going to come on. I have to do my part. And our part is going through this whole 12-step process. We're coming up here on the top of the hour. That's all I got. Thanks a lot for letting me share.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Nope, that's all right, Rob. Let's go ahead and do the serenity prayer, and then we'll open it up.
Okay. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.